It's a lot of fun when you win here. It's not too much fun when you lose, so especially being so far from home.
Jaguars got a big win in London. Welcome into Teal the Show. I'm Jamal St. Cyr. We've got Justin Barney hanging out with me. Frank Frangie still across the pond in London with the team. Justin, this was a big win for the Jaguars and one that the team desperately needed.
Absolutely. You got to get back on track. You can't win the next one until you win the one right in front of you. And the Falcons game was a big test for Jacksonville. You're on the road. You're in a place you played several times before. You come out there and you don't really look good on offense, but your defense actually picks you up. We didn't see that against the Texans last week. Very good to see that defense rebound after giving up 37 a week before against Houston. A good start for Jacksonville overseas.
That makes today a Victory Monday kind of show. So the biggest positive from the Jaguars defense has to be the play of Josh Allen. He racked up 3 sacks. For the second time this year, Josh Allen racked up 3 sacks in a single game. He was a one-man wrecking crew against the Atlanta Falcons. Big day for Josh Allen, who says, look, he just needs to play like that week in and week out.
For me, it's just day to day. You know, I try not to become a robot and say, I'll have to do this, I have to do this. If I don't do this, then it's not going to happen. So I'm really in the moment and just handle my business. You know, for me, this is strictly business, and you know, and I'm about my business, and I'm ready to win games. I want to be the guy for the defense that we can count on.
He was in a great headspace before the game this whole week. You know, just an outstanding performance. You know, and obviously the big one there at the end, and it's what he's capable of doing. You know, and same way, you know, when you talk about guys like Trevor and Christian and Calvin and, you know, Zay and all these guys, you know, he's in that conversation. Those are the guys that, you know, need to step up and make plays, and he did a great job for us today, and something that, you know, he can be proud of, and obviously we can work on that.
When you start thinking about it, when you say, who are the most important players on the Jaguars roster, you start the conversation and you say Trevor Lawrence. But I can make a real solid argument that Josh Allen's right there at number 2 and that it's not real close.
Yeah, I mean, he's the true pass rusher on the team. There's really no other pass rushing threat. DeJuan Smoot still hasn't come back from that torn Achilles, and Trayvon Walker is still in that process of developing. Devin Lloyd is out with a thumb injury. So who is that pass rusher? It really defaults to Josh Allen, and when you can disrupt the game like that, that's been the kind of the drum we've been banging all year. You've got to change the quarterback, got to make him feel uncomfortable, and Josh Allen has been able to do that, even though a couple of sacks this year have been a little bit questionable. You're attacking a guy at the line of scrimmage, but 6 sacks officially. He was a game changer on Sunday against the Falcons. You've got to love to see that. He's 6 sacks, halfway to his career high already.
Halfway there, he is off to a incredible start to the season, and Josh Allen needs a big one because, keep in mind, this is the final year of his contract here in Jacksonville, so it's decision time for the Jaguars on the back end of this, whether Josh is trying to audition for other teams, the Jaguars give him that extension, or maybe just franchise tag 41 and keep him here for another year while everyone figures out what's next. There are a lot of decisions that are coming, but there's a long way before we get to those. There's a lot of season left to play. Now, the Jaguars had a 2-game skid to end September. Last year, October was really bad. I've called it spooky. It just was weird. They lost 5 games in the month of October. It was one that they didn't want to repeat, and especially after wrapping up September with 2 losses, they couldn't afford to. Jaguars got October started off on the right foot with a win against the Atlanta Falcons. Definitely a good start. But now the Jaguars have that record back to 2-2. You'd like to see them take another step and get back to a winning record.
Yeah, and when you look at the AFC South, I mean, it is 2s everywhere. Deuces wild everywhere in the division. Every team is 2-2. The Texans, who we thought were completely rebuilt, C.J. Stroud looks like the best quarterback in the AFC South. So you're thinking some of these teams that may have been in rebuilding years. I mean, you've seen what Mike Vrabel's doing in Tennessee. Jacksonville's in for a dogfight in the AFC South, and you have to stack those wins, especially after that loss to the Texans, 37-17. This is getting on the right track. And remember what happened last year in London against the Broncos. Terrible game for Trevor. It flipped the switch over there. See if this one did the same.
A trip to London may be good for the Jaguars. Keep in mind, Trevor's first trip to London ended a really long losing streak. Last year, Trevor called it a kind of reality check that flipped the switch and helped him light the candle down the stretch. Maybe this year it gets rid of some of those early season struggles, helps them get on the right track as they move forward. Now, we did say this is Victory Monday, so we are talking more positives than negatives, but we do have to get to the negative of the game. Now, the one negative is that the Jaguars offense did only score 1 touchdown. And that was in the first quarter. It was still just one touchdown. So while the expectation is there, the talent is there, the results just haven't been what they are looking for on that offensive unit.
Yeah, and I think, when you look at the most disappointing play of Sunday, I think it was after the Andre Sisco interception, and you take it inside the red zone, you're 4th and 1, and you have a Trevor Lawrence sack. You overthrow a touchdown in the end zone. Had you thrown it to a receiver instead of running back, it's probably a touchdown there, but you're playing without Zay Jones. Parker Washington's injured. Jamal Agnew's not there. So you're playing with a little bit of a mismatch of guys on that offensive side of the ball. But to me, that's the disappointing game. If you punch that in there, it's a 30-7 game, and we're not talking about a disappointing offense. But again, you're still seeing too many of those blips and struggles when there really should be gimme points.
Few injuries starting to stack up for the Jaguars, but there are also some reinforcements on the way. Cam Robinson's suspension officially over. He is going to be eligible to return to practice with the team as early as this week. DeJuan Smoot, who started the year on PUP, he is also eligible to possibly come off that list and start practicing with the team. They did take him with them to London on the initial trip, so that should tell you that they think that he might be that close to being able to get back out on the practice field. Rookie safety Antonio Johnson is getting closer to getting back out on the field. Zay Jones has now missed a couple of games, but he could be back right around the corner. So there are some reinforcements on the way. It's not all doom and gloom when you start talking about the injury front for the Jaguars, but there are some realistic expectations you have to set on guys after they've been away from the field for a while. Well, it's time to start talking about those and turning the page to what's next for the Jaguars. This is an interesting week for the team. We'll talk all about that in Teal the Show right after this break. Welcome back here into Teal the Show. This is a strange week for the Jaguars. Now, they've been playing games across the pond in London for a while now, but they've never had to do it just quite like this. They've never played back-to-back games in London. This year, the first time the NFL has decided to send the Jaguars over to play 2 games in London back-to-back. Now, of course, they wrapped up the game against the Falcons. What's next? The Bills are right around the corner. Jaguars aren't coming back here to Jacksonville. They're staying in London. They switched hotels to be a little bit closer to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where this week's game is going to be played. So definitely an interesting setup that the team has to try and get used to. Now, the good part is that they also get a little bit of time to explore today. Some of the Jaguars players got a chance to get out and look around a little bit.
I'm excited. I think, obviously we have a little bit of time to get out and explore a little bit, something I haven't been able to do in the years past. And especially after a win, it's a little different feeling if you lose today and then you have the week here. You're kind of obviously just trying to get to Sunday to get that feeling out of your system. But it's exciting to get the win and to be able to have an off day this week to get out in the city and explore. I got family in town, so to get some time with them. But nothing crazy. We're going to go out to dinner. We're going to walk around, kind of check out the city. So nothing necessarily super special, but it'd just be fun to check it out. So excited for that.
I mean, I'm a boring guy, man, so, it probably won't be too much, sightseeing for me. I'm probably just going to be in the film, but
Not all the Jaguars players looking forward to going out and playing tourist, but it is good that they get a little bit of time to explore because they go there and play those games, but it's such a quick turnaround. Normally, there's not a whole lot of time to sightsee.
Yeah, really. I mean, you guys like Calvin Ridley, this is the furthest he's ever been from home. He spoke about that, how interesting it was to be over there. The fans, they singing Sweet Caroline during the game. I mean, just so many experiences. That a friend actually texted me earlier today that he went over for the game and he bumped into Trevor Lawrence and his wife Marissa at Buckingham Palace earlier today. So that was really cool to see a picture from that. So good to see the Jaguars and their families and friends getting to experience a little sights and sounds of London that you don't get to see on a normal road trip. So really cool for a lot of these players who've never done that.
Now, while this is a different part of the week for the team, they're trying to keep everything as normal as possible when they're outside of their normal environment. This is a strange week. They have to prep away from home, away from their families. Now, the good part of this is it may have come at a good time for this team. Now, I know people here in Jacksonville don't typically want to hear that being outside of the city is good for the team. But when you get off to a rocky start to the season, and now you go somewhere where the team is all in the same hotel. They took a long flight together. They're walking to breakfast together. They all aren't commuting and going their separate ways at the end of the day. There's bonding time. Doug Peterson this morning compared it to the old school training camps where everybody's together and they go to a separate environment. That's what this is like. That's that extra team bonding. Those sort of bonding opportunities don't come along often and could pay dividends late in the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talk about going even back a little bit further with Tom Coughlin, the first year of Jacksonville as an expansion franchise in '95. He didn't have training camp here. He took him up to Wisconsin, had him in Stevens Point up there, had everything going on up there, the team bonding experience. So there's a lot to be said. It's almost like the college game. You want road trips and bonding experiences during camp. Doug Peterson's talked about it. The players have talked about it. Not an attack on Jacksonville. It's not like they don't like being here, but this is a little bit of a reset opportunity. When you add in the sightseeing, being over there and doing stuff with family, a little bit different of a thing, and I think it came at the perfect time. Right, a 2-game losing streak, got a chance to get over there and have a little more training camp type of bonding situation over there.
Hey, look for all the positives you can, because this is a tough game for the Jaguars this week against the Buffalo Bills. They dismantled the Miami Dolphins this past weekend. We'll talk more about that matchup on Friday's episode of Teal the Show. What we like to do here on Mondays, Justin, especially a Victory Monday, a game ball. You got to pick one player who's your player of the game for the win against the Falcons. If you had to pick one to hand out your game ball, who would it be?
It's got to be number 41, Josh Allen. Game changer. I've been on the Josh Allen train all season long. Before the season started, I thought this was going to be a breakout year for Josh Allen. His second game with 3 sacks this season, forced fumble in garbage time to wrap up that game, and just a good game. We've been talking about all season. Jaguars need a defensive enforcer, a pass rusher, somebody to get to the quarterback. Josh Allen is that guy. He's my game ball from yesterday.
Yeah, Josh Allen. If I had to pick someone besides 41, I'd have to go Darius Williams. I think that pick 6 definitely kind of changed the dynamic of the football game, especially when you take into context that the Jaguars never scored another touchdown. That was only their other touchdown of the day besides Calvin Ridley's early one. So Josh Allen, Darius Williams, 2 big-time game balls, 2 players that had big impacts for the Jaguars on Sunday against the Falcons. One other thing we got to talk about before we wrap up the show. Justin, you saw some of the Toy Story stuff. I was a fan. I thought the NFL did a great job with that, and that they should be doing more of those games in the future. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, it opens a genre of kids getting into the game and seeing it through a lens that they can understand. I like it. I'm not the huge Toy Story fan that some people are, but I loved the setting, the environment, just the talking during the game of it, the fire, the flames coming out of the feet. Such a new audience for the NFL to tap. I liked it. Experimentation, I think it worked for Disney Plus and ESPN.
I think it worked as well. It definitely goes along with the fact that the Jaguars escaped Andy's room with a victory, and ultimately that's what matters. Hey, Justin, thanks for being here. Thank you at home for tuning in. Good night, everybody, and go Jags.